Jury selection in the trial of the accused Boston Marathon bomber postponed today because of the bad weather hitting Boston. It's been almost 2 years since explosions near the finish line of the marathon left 3 people dead. The manhunt for the brothers suspected in the bombings led to the shooting death of this MIT police officer. And now the process of finding 18 fair and impartial jurors in the trial of Johar Tsarnaev is getting longer, as the defense team appears to be focusing on his older brother, who was killed in that shootout with law enforcement. Let's talk about it with Wendy Patrick, a career trial attorney and prosecutor. So the defense appears to be leaning toward some kind of a defense that centers around blaming the older brother for basically intimidating his baby brother into participating in the crime with him. Will it work?
Well, it's hard to say whether it'll work because it's such an uphill battle. You know, we all hear about cases where you argue that the defendant acted under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Here, the defense is that he acted basically under the influence of his older brother. And that's going to be hard to prove, especially when you're probably going to hear lots of evidence of the kind of relationship they had. And also remember that this younger brother who's going on trial scrawled that anti-American message on the side of the boat where they ended up finding him after his older brother was already dead. So in order to sort of tie him to the crime as a co-conspirator, I think it's going to be tough for the defense to prove he wasn't an active participant.
Yeah, that message that was scrawled on the inside of the boat, apparently basically saying that, you know, we did this because we want to avenge Muslim deaths in Iraq and Afghanistan. Coming as close as it did to the actual bombings, does it say that, I mean, he might have still been under the mind control of his older brother who had just died a day or so before?
You know, the problem with that argument, I think, as we're going to see as the trial gets underway, is this was not a spontaneous decision these two brothers made. It was the culmination of a sophisticated plan that included making those homemade bombs from scratch in Tamerlan's apartment. This was not something that the younger brother decided to join in on at the last minute. He was involved. But you're right in that that's what the defense is going to try to do in order to save his life. Because remember, while Massachusetts, of course, does not have a death penalty statewide, federal prosecution, he's eligible for the death penalty, and that's what they're going to be arguing for.
Yeah, curious case because, as you mentioned, Massachusetts doesn't have it. The feds are asking for it. Will they be able to find a jury, seat a jury that is willing to impose the death penalty?
Well, if it ever stops snowing, we're going to be able to see if we can actually keep that process going. But the reason that is such a good question is this. There are lots of people that look at this case and say, oh, it's a slam dunk, he's going to get the death penalty. But remember, although it's a federal prosecution, those jury members are in Massachusetts, who abolished the death penalty in 1984. So we've gone a lot of years in that state without this being the kind of thing on anybody's mind in terms of something they're going to have to impose. So finding a death-qualified jury in that case may be more challenging than some bystanders are speculating it's going to be.
All right. Wendy Patrick, a trial attorney and a former prosecutor. Wendy, thank you.
Thank you.